are often his confidence divided proof that the Ottoman rise can still be stopped. This is why the final conflict feels bigger than an ordinary battlefield. It is a test of statecraft, it is a test of patience, it is a test of visions. Orhan understands that if he reacts with anger alone, he may lose more than soldiers, he may lose the futures that his father dreamed about. This is where Orhan becomes more dangerous. This is enemies expect. He does not rush blindly. He studies the movement of the enemy. He learns that a large force has left to contemplate, and instead of waiting to be crushed between armies, he builds his own game. This makes Orhan different from many worries about him. Some men only know how to attack, some only know how to defend, but a ruler must know when to stay silent, when to move, when to burn the bridge behind the enemy, and when to make the enemy believe he is safe. Orhan plan around Tarasai harbor shows that he is no longer just the brave son of Osman, he is becoming the mind of a state. The idea of burning the enemy ships before they can fully serve the enemy is powerful because it changes the balance of the war. Ships are not only wood and sails. In war, ships means supply, escape, pressure, and fear. If the enemy can use the sea freely, then Orhan land victory may still remain incomplete. But if Orhan can strike the ship before they sail into actions, then the cuts of the enemy's strongest hand. This kind of strategy showed that the Ottoman struggles is now moving beyond tribal war. It is entering a larger world. Cities, ports, roads, castles, alliances, and sea routes are all becoming part of sea fight. But the strength of this episode is not only in war planning, the emotional side also carries heavy weight. Bursa is not shown only as a city of stone walls, it becomes a place of returns, pain, hope, and memory. When Fatima and those with her come back safely, the palace breathes again. Their returns matters because the palace has been carried many wounds. Every person inside has lost something. Every victory has come with a price. Fatma returns bring relief, but it does not erase the past. It only gives the character a small moment to believe that life can still continue after betrayals, fire, and fear. Fatma and Evron stand in the middle of the one most emotional lines of the story. Their bond has passed through doubt, anger, and hidden trust and dangers. Evron has not been a simple character. His past, his identity, and his judgment around him have created conflict. When his innocence becomes clear, the story gives him and Fatma a chance to breathe again, but this chance does not feel easily. Their love is not painted like a calm dream, it feels like something pulled out of flames. That is why their reunions carries a different kind of feeling. It is not only romantic, it is a sign trust can survive even when lies are louder for a long time. Still, the palace does not stay peaceful for long. The tension between Nilufar and Asporka becomes another storm inside the walls. This conflict is important because it shows that the state is not only threatening from outside. Sometimes the hardest battles happen inside the home between peoples who all stand close to power. Nilufar pain after hearing about Daphne becomes anger, and that anger turns again toward Asporka. For Nilufar, this is not only a political matter, it is personal. It is grief, jealousy, fear, and pride mixed together. She feels that something has been taken from her, and in such a moment, even a strong heart can become a sharp. They tell her to be patient, they tell her to trust God. They tell her that brave men face dangers with honor. All this world may be dangers, True, but they do not remove the pain of waiting. Helemi does not only for death, she fears not knowing. She knowing is a special kind of suffering. It keeps hope alive and returns burns the heart at the same time. If the news is bad, the heart breaks. If the news does not come, the keeps breaking again and again. Darshan's position is tragic because he has seen a curve between love and loyalty, between origins and choices. He is not the kind of character who will walk a clean road. His life is full of difficult lines. The only side calm him by blood or old connections, and other side may hold desert in the same pieces. A man might slowly decide who wants to become, but war does not give a time. War forces choices quickly. Darshan must decided what kind of man he is while danger is already around him. This gives his story emotional power. He becomes a symbol of the people crushed between larger forces. Orhan sees people like their sons and understands that the state of the must more than defeat enemies. It must give people a place to belong. If a man wants to leave the wrong path and stand with justice, the state must know how to accept him. But if the same man betray trust, the same must also know how to judge him. This balance is difficult. Rulers who trust everyone becomes blind. Rulers who trust no one become cruel. Orhan must learn when to open the door and when to close it. Darshan's story touched these questions deeply. The problem of prisoners and former enemies grow after every battle. Some men fought because they believed in the Empire, some fought because they followed Sahinsas, some fought only because they were orders. Some may be spies, some may truly want Mercury. Orhan cannot treat all of them the same. If he kills without difference, he creates fields but loses justice. If he frees without wisdom, he creates danger. So he orders careful judgment. Each must be knowing the by action, no one the side he stood only. This is how a state begins to create law instead of revenge. These joys also separate Orhan from Sahinsas. Sahinsas' pride make him see people as tools from ambitions. Orhan must see people as souls under his responsibility. This does not mean he is not. Our rulers cannot be soft when betrayal threatens the state, but there is a difference between firmness and cruelty. Firmness protects order, cruelty feeds the ruler's ego. Orhan challenge he is stay firm without letting victory poison his heart. This kind of moral test is more important than a sword fight because it decides what kind of rulers he will become. The Emperor received news of the burnt ship and the broken environment of his forces with heavy anger. His pride is wounded, but his fear is also growing. He understands that Orhan is not a simple border leader anymore. Orhan can think ahead. He can strike supply lines. He can land and timing. He can turn the Emperor's strength into weakness. This is dangerous for Byzantines because old empires often survive to making smaller power feel small. But Orhan does not feel small. He acts like a ruler who believes history is opening before him. The Emperor realized that the young state may not despair like many orders before it. Still, the Emperor cannot show fear. A ruler who shows fear loses half his army before battles. So he speaks with harsh pride. He blames failures on others. He says that Orhan he was only as a small moment. He promised revenge, but inside the ground under him is less stable. His silence will Science's is damaged. His soldiers have been fired where they expect safely. He commanders now questions what order, trap, and wait ahead. Fear does not always make an army run. Sometimes it makes an army slow. It makes men look over their shoulders. It makes leaders doubt each other's. Orhan move has planted these fears. Science has become more restless than the Emperor from him the defeat is personal. He cannot accept that Orhan has outplanned him. He cannot explain that the Bey may not look at Orhan may more respect. He cannot accept that people may whisper about the failures. Pride becomes like prisons in his blood. Instead of calming himself, thinking clearly, he begins to hunger for a bold move that restore his name. This is exactly where the people who dangerous and most weakness. A proud man is panic can do great damage, but he can almost destroy himself. His followers also begins to feel the change. Some will still him, some fear him, some orders him taken them too far. In every rebellion there comes a moment when equality asks whether his leader is still guiding them or only guiding them into his own. Sciences may not hear these doubts, but they are theirs. Men who followed him for honors may know fear shame. Men who followed him power may now fear loses. Men who feared because they dislike Orhan may now wonder if Orhan is stronger than they throw. This unseen weakness spread slowly. Orhan understands that an enemy camp can fall off inside before the final sword is raised. He does not need to rush blindly. He sends message, watches movement, and studies who remains close to sciences. He wants to know which men are true beliefs, which men are afraid, and which men may leave it, keep a path. This is not cow credit. This is statecraft. Our rulers who can without wasting leaves should do so. Every enemy soldiers who loves the wrong side without battle is one less grave. Every divided enemy camp is one less dangerous for Bursa. Orhan mind is now working beyond the battlefield. Aladdin help is the kind of thinking. His strength is not the loud action, but is clear judgment. He can look at power problem and see the structures beneath it. Where Orhan sees moment and timing, Aladdin sees law and consequence. Tolga they represent two sides of rules. Orhan carries the sword of command. Aladdin carries the pen of order. A state needs both if Orhan wins battles. But Aladdin does not help build law. The victories may scatter if Aladdin writes rules, but Orhan cannot protect them. The rules will remain weak. Their partnership is one of the quiet pillar of the story. The brothers do not always need to agree on every detail. In fact, different can be useful is respectful. Debate or how nature pushes him to act when action is needed. Aladdin mixtures whether the actions will create long-term stability. These tensions can be staked by delay and recklessness, but it can become a dream. Each know that Osman Bey legacy cannot be protected by one skills one. It needs courage, knowledge, discipline, and patience. The memory of Osman Bey moves through this section like a silent presence. This is not there is body, but his dream is everyone. The elders up remember his voice The people remember his struggles. Orhan carries his name like both honor and weight. Every decision Orhan makes is compared or what Osman might have done. This can inspire him, but it can also trap him. A son of great founder must learn when he follow the father's path and when to create his own. If Orhan only copies Osman, he may face in a new age. If he forgets Osman, he loses his root. His greatness will depend on balancing memory with visions. Bursa itself become a symbol of this balance. It is a city taken through struggles, but now it must be governed with care. Conquest open the gate, justice keep the city. Orhan knows that people inside Bursa are not all the same. Some are loyal to him, some are unsure, some are still misses the old order, some only want safety for their families. He cannot rule them through fear. Fears may silence people for a while, but it does not create lasting loyalty. He must show that under these rules, trade can continue, home can be protected, whispers can be respected, and wanderings can be pushed fairly. This is how a city becomes part of a state. He orders the markets to be watches, the not to be control every breath of the people, but to prevent chores or often bring themes, fake rumors, and unfair prices. When fear spreads, some people use it for profit. Orhan cannot allow that it becomes too expensive. People will suffer. Its orders take them want people's the orders, its families, its officials act the arrogance. The state loses respect. So Orhan, while rule tested only not only by enemies outside but by a small act instead, the city a just state is built through these daily decisions. The people begins to notice a window receiving protection, a merchants fighting. Fairness is trade. A wounded soldier begins treated. A prisoner begins judged properly. These things become stories. People repeat them slowly. Trust grow. This kind of trust is not dramatic like a battle scenes, but it is more important for the long road. A state cannot stand forever on fear. It stands on the belief that the rulers who will not abandon justice will. When power is the hand, Orhan must earn this belief day by day. Curity watches them. These changes with the eyes of a man who has seen much. He remembers the harder, poor days when the dreams was smaller and dangers was everywhere. Now he sees Bursa becoming a center of power. He sees young walking proudly under Orhan banner. He sees the palace becoming more complex. He sees politicals becoming sharper. These scenes make him proud, but also sad. Growth always changes the old way. A simple camp has become a state. A state brings strength, but it also pride. Distance people who once ate around the same fire may now stand in different ranks. Curity feels this change very deeply for the old ups. Loyalty is not a political calculation, it is a lie they have already given. They followed Osman, now they stand with Orhan, but they also worry that the new generation now may not understand the cost of the dream. Young soldiers sees banners, title, and cities. The old soldiers remembers hunger, exiles, wounds, and the grave of the friends. This different create a quiet responsibility. The old must teach the young that the state was not born in comfort, it was born through sacrifice. If the young forget this pride, may destroy but sacrifice believe. Orhan values these older voices but cannot let the state remain frozen in memory. This is an other's difficult balance. Respected elders does not mean refusing change. Honoring the old road does not mean walking backward. Orhan needs the loyalty of man like purity, but he needs also new system, new license, and new method of war. The world around him is chasing. The Byzantines still have cities, road, and political connections. Others may have their own ambitions. Trade routes matters, sea power matters, diplomacy matters. If Iran thinks only like the past, the future will defeat him. The balance women also represent his change. Nilufar, Esporka, Fatma, and Halimi each show a different part of the world. Nilufar show the cost of loyalty. When political life becomes larger than personal love, Esporka show the needs for alliance and the danger of mistrust. Fatma show healing after suspicion and the hope of honest love. Halimi show grief and the price paid by these who wait. Together they make the palace more than dangerous. They show that the state future is not shaped by only his battle tent. It is not also shaped in Rome, where women speak, suffers, forgive, decide when they accept. Nilufar next important moment come when Zara realized that anger alone will not protect her place. She can shout at Sporka, questions Orhan, and hold her pain like a weapon. But none of this give her space. If should want remains strong, she must become more than wounded pride. She must remember who she is. His strength does not remembers who she is. Strength does not come only for Orhan's attention, it comes from the dignity for intelligence, and her role is the family. The realization is not easy because anger feels powerful, but real power may require face self-control. As Porca also must be later than intelligence without warmth can create fear. She may be bright things, but she right is not always enough. Is distance Nilufar's side will grow stronger again. He is show respect without surrender. She may slowly grip a safer palace. This is the challenge. She must keep the pride but soften the sharp edge around it. A woman in her positions cannot win by force. She must win through patience, timing, and careful respect. Orhan role difference then becomes almost than the role of the judge, but the cannot judge only with law because his matters belong to the heart. He speaks to Nilufar with memory. He reminds her that her place is not erased by new needs. He speaks to Asporka with questions. He reminds her that respect must be earned inside the house, not only given by political value. Methods for conversation solve everything at once, but both conversations are steeped in real life. Deep tensions rarely disappear strong. One since it changes slowly when each person begins to understand the fear beside the other person's anger outside the palace. Orhan sends men to watch the road leading from the harbor and from the enemy positions. He accepts movement. The Imperial may try to save face with a sudden strike. Sahinsaz may try to prove himself by attacking a weaker point. Orhan does not wait for them to choose battlefield. freely. He wants to shape their choices. This is a mind of commanders who understand pressure. It can limit the empty options. He can control the war. Before the battle begins, he uses scouts, secret message, and local eyes to build up pictures of what is coming. Spice becomes very important in this stage. A sword can kill one man, but a good piece of information can save 100. Orhan knows this. He wants to know how much supplies remain, whether Sainsa's followers are divided, and which road they may use. Next, information is not glamorous, but it is power. Many titles are won because she one-sided something is or the other side does not. Orhan growth as a ruler sees shown through his attention to such details. He does not only ask men to be brave, he asks them to be awake. The enemy asks and spices. Bursa is valuable and its piece is full of possible crack. A servant with a careless tongues are ground who drink too much, are traitors who want money, are wounded soldiers who full of dangers. Anyone can become a door of enemy. Orhan orders tighter control, but they also understand that fear alone cannot stop up spying. People must feel that loyalty, feel the dignity, and betrayal brings shame. This is why the reward honest service and punishes secret tragedy. The state must teach peoples with path has honored the coming confrontations with science becomes more personal with every step. Orhan does not want to fight him only because he is an enemy. He must fight his because science represent a disease that can separate his body of the state. This disaster is ambitions without unity. If every wave places its own pride above the common future, the Ottoman rises with collapse before the reaches its true strength. Orhan victory over Sahinsas must before become a lesson. It must show that personal pride cannot stand above the state, but Orhan must be careful if the lessons become too brutal. Fear may replace loyalty if it is too soft. Rebellion may look easy. Sahinsas meanwhile begins to speak more harshly to his own men. He uses words like honors, blood, and rightful roles. He series to his pride into a noble cause. This is how ambitions men often work. Then cover personal hungers with public language. They cease fight for justice, but their angers grow. Whatever they are not obey, they are the protect traditions, but they use traditions to protect their own positions. Some men believe him because they are already angry, or others stay silent because they fear him, but silence is not the same as loyalty. Orhan knows that this difference. The Emperor watches the Insas with mixed feeling. He needs him, but he does not fully trust him. The Insas know he land and can divide the Turkish side, but he is also unstable. The Emperor may see him as a useful fire, but fire can burn the hand that carries it. The tension weakness their alliance futures. They stand together because they purpose Orhan, not because they share a future. Orhan's state, despite its own troubles, has a clear center. That center is the dream inherited from Osman and carried by Orhan. The enemy side has ambitions, fear, and temporary need. These differences matter deeply as Orhan prepares for the next step. He also turns his mind toward the futures beyond the current war. He understands that Bursa cannot remain only a military prize. It must become a base for expansion, administrations, and identity. From Bursa, the Ottoman state can look toward can cities and new roads, but expansions must be timed carefully. If Orhan moved before securing the inside, he may strengthen his force. Two things if he stayed too long, the enemies may recover. This is why the studies may map not as a dreamer but as a builder. Every target must have a reason. Every must serve the larger design. The dimensions of the next target brings energy into the story. The soldiers is means the road continue the for enemies it means Orhan is not satisfied for the people it means that their rule sees a futures larger than survive but the palace it may also means absence more dangers and more waiting. Nilufar here for the palace may seize old fear returns as Forca may see an opportunity Islam Fatma may worry for involved Halimi may feel that the world is moving while her own heart is stuck. This is the cost of a ruler's ambition. His dream pulls everyone around him into motions. Orhan ambition, however, is not shown as empty hunger. He does not seek land only to be called grief great. He sees expansions as part of the state's security. If the enemy keeps strong castles near Bursa, Bursa will never be safe. If road remains under hostile control, trade will suffer. If the Byzantine can gather forces close by, every victory will remain temporary. So the next target is only a dream of glory. It is a strategic needs Orhan minds connecting security, enemy faith, and political authority. This is what makes his leadership more mature. The soldiers feel that majority they see that Orhan does not throw them into dangers without reasons. He shares the purpose of each other. He honors those who fall. He listens to trusted commanders. He respected old warriors but also raises new talent. This creates confidence. Soldiers can survive hardship when they believe their leadership sees the whole path. They do not need every detail, but they need to know that their sacrifice is not being wasted. Orhan gives them that belief among the young ups. The idea of the next companions create excitement. They want to prove themselves. They want their names to be remembered. They want to stand in stories the way older men stood with Osman. This youthful fire is useful, but it must be guided. Orhan knows young bravery can become foolish if left alone. He gives them discipline. He reminds them the enemy does not fall because when patience, unity, and timing meet courage, these lessons shape the next generations of warriors. The old commanders teach the young men how to survive. They tell them not to waste strength is the first charge. They tell them wash the commander's hand, not to enemy insult. They tell them to care for their horses, protect their brothers, and never chasing a fleeing enemy without orders. These small lessons may sound simple, but they are the difference between life and death. The series becomes stronger when it shows such details because it is a only crowd of brave men, an army, not a crowd of brave men. It is a living body trained enough experience. Bursa people also begin preparing for longer struggles. Women, food, merchants, code good, blacksmiths work without rest. Healers prepare herbs and clothes. Children are told to stay away from the walls. The city becomes part of the war effort. This matters because a state is not built only by warriors, it is built by everyone who keeps life moving while warrior fight in the backers feed fighters, the mothers rising, the craftmaster making tools, and the healing treating wounds or carry the state is their own way. Orhan rules must protect and values them. In the middle of this preparation, a quiet scene between Orhan and the memory of Osman give the story emotional depth. Orhan may stand alone, prepares here's a window, a country yard, or a place that remind him his father. He does not speak loudly. He does not need to. The weight inside him to clear. He may wonders whether Osman would approve two choices. He may ask himself if he is moving too fast or not fast enough. He may feel the loneliness of begins the everyone looks to this private moment makes him human. A great ruler still has doubt. The different he does not let doubt stop him. This doubt is not weakness, it is a sign that Orhan foolish understand contains that time. A wiser leader questions himself them act when action is needed. Orhan inner struggles make the outer strength more believable. He is a stone, he is a man carrying a stone. Like beauty, he feels pain, love, anger, fear, and hope, but that does not only not feeling for roles for the state. This is what leadership are from ask for him. Aladdin's may join him in a such moment and speak with calm honesty. He may remind Orhan honesty. He may remind Orhan that Orhan did not build the dream so his sons would be afraid of growing it. He may also warn him that growth without dangers can break the dream. This kind of properly conversation is important because it gives Orhan space here, trust without public pressure. In front of soldiers, he must to frame in front of enemies. He must be unshaken, but the Aladdin he can think their bond becomes one of the state hidden strength. The decisions may turn to law. Aladdin knows that so cities grow. Judgment becomes more complicated. Tribal customs are not enough for every case. Trade dispute, property right, prisoners treatment, military and responsibility, and relations with non-Muslim communities all require careful rules. If does not knows what to accept from Orhan rules, uncurity will create fear. If rules are clear and fair, so people will begin to trust the new authority. This is where the Ottoman's futures begins to take shape, not only with sword but with law. Orhan listens because he knows Aladdin is right. He made the face of conquest, but conquest without administration is like water held in open hand. It slips away. Bursa must not slip away. The road must not slip away. The loyalty of Bay must not slip away. Everything won by courage must be held by orders. This idea becomes one of the main themes of the section. Orhan is not longer only proving that can win, he is proving that can keep win. But the wins as the story move forward, the emotional thread begins to tightening again. Nilüfer sees Orhan spending time instead matters may feel that distance from him, but she also begins to understand that can her own strength must grow as Porca sees that replaces respect will come quickly, but she does not run from the challenge. Fatima and Ibron's move closer through trust, not only passion. Salome faces the possibility that loves may become grief. Each character is being shaped by pressure. No one remains the same after this war. This is what makes the final stage of Kurulus Orhan powerful. It does not show change as a simple victory, it shows change, a pressure that relieves the trust of people. Some becomes stronger, some becomes bitter, some becomes wiser, some falls into pride. Orhan rises because he learns from pressure. Sahinsas falls because pressure exposes his pride. Niloufar struggles because pressure touches her fear. Asporka sharpens because pressure demands intelligence. Fatma softens and strengthens at the same time because pressure teaches her trust. Halimi breaks and grows because pressure teaches her on the pride of love. The next move against the incest must be done carefully. Orhan wants to end the threat without creating unnecessary bloodshed. He sends word that those who loves rebellion and returns to justice may be justifiably. This is a smart move. It separates incest from men who are only following him out of fear or fighting confusion. It also shows that Orhan is not fighting his own people. Player he is fighting betrayal. This difference matters. A ruler who gives people a path back can weakness rebellion from inside. It can prove confidence only as a strong rose can offer mercury without looking afraid. Sciences here this is the become furious to him. Orhan Mercury looks like an insult. Suggests that Orhan Sciences men are not only it suggests forgive that Sciences cannot control. This trust him deeply. He inside the broke dangerous if even and fears of man begins of thinks of returning this authority will shake. So he becomes harsher. He enters those who doubt, but harshness can keep men in place only for a short time. It cannot create true loyalty. The Emperor sees this and understands that Sahinsa's side is becoming unstable, but the Emperor also has no easy choices. He cannot abandon Sahinsas without losing a useful ally. He cannot fully trust him ethers. This creates a cold distance between them. Their conversations become polite on the surface but sharp underneath. Each man wants to use the other's. Neither man wants to be blamed if plan fails. This is weakness of alliance built only on shared hatred. They can stand during confidence, but they can crack during fears. Orhan camps despite its losses grow more united because the purpose is clear. Soldiers know that what they defend. Commanders who were leaders. Their palace may have personal tension, but the political centers remain stronger than the enemy. This does not mean Orhan's side is perfect. It means Orhan is better at turning conflict into order. That is one of the marks of a true ruler. He cannot lie without problem. He prevents problem from ruling him. His eventual clash with Sahinsas becomes only a battles of men, but of a battles meaning Sahinsas stand for pride that must rises above personal anger. Sahinsas wants to prove that the name cannot be ignored. Orhan cannot be proved that can state cannot be held hostage by one man ego when man each others. The audience understand that only one version of can survive. Ethers can futures to be a divide belongs on a stage or other Orhan. Before this clash, Orhan speaks to his men is quieter. Then before he knows the fighting forgiving enemies is easier of hurt fighting men from across world. Some soldiers may have relatives or old friends and old sides. Some men feel sadness even some may feel sadness even or while they prepare their sword. This tells that the should would be repaired the haters but for justice should be hated but for justice. He reminded the rebellions bring fitna and fitna can destroy families, cities and the dreams of many years. This world give moral weight for to the fight. When the constitutions begins, Sahinsas tries to use questions. He calls Orhan young question his right. He speaks of tradition. He tries to make Orhan appear someone who has forgotten the old way. But Orhan does not fall into the trap. He answers with calm strength. He does not insult traditions. He says that traditions without justice become a chain. He does not reject the old way. He says that the way honors when he serves unity but no honors when he feeds divisions. The kind of answers is stronger than angers because it takes the ground from under Science's world. The fight itself fearless because Science it is not weak, he is proud, experienced, and dangerous. He does not fully fear hurt, especially those who still believe in him. Orhan's side pay a price. Victory does not come clean. Dust, blood, and carries fill the field, but slowly Orhan discipline begins to overcome Sahinsa's angers the man who wears unsure or Sahinsa's side begins to lose heart. Some step back, some throw down weapons, some continue because they fear punishment. Their rebellion begins to lose its soul before the last sword falls. Orhan faces Sahinsas at the heart of the clash. This moment carries all the tension built before. Orhan does not look happy, he looks this is a painful necessity. Sahinsas looks like a burning from inside. He may still believe he is right, or he may be proud to admit the trust. The final exchange should not be simple. Sahinsas may excuses Orhan of stealing power. Orhan may answer that power is stole by serving the people, by destroying the dividing them. Sahinsas may say that Orhan hides behind someone named Orhan may answers that Orhan's name is not shield at him but a trust he must live up to. This makes up confrontations emotional and meaningful. When Sahinsa's strength finally breaks, the field changes. The men around him understand that the rebellion has failed. Some fall to their knees, some run, some stare in silence because the man they feared or followed is no longer standing. As before, Orhan victory here is different from the harbor victory. The harbor victory broke the enemy plan. This victory broke an inner threat. It tells everyone that the state has a center and that centers cannot be shaken by pride. But it also sadness because the blood spilled is not forgive blood. It bloods to peoples who might have stood together. It pride have not divided them. Orhan trust that has a wounded be cared for, including those from other side who are not guilty of deep crimes. This dismiss matter. It showed that after victory, justice still alive. Some commanders may want harder treatment. They may say that rebellion deserves no mercy, but Orhan understands that endless revenge creates endless rebellions. The guilty must, by unfinished yet confused, must return it possible. They state whether it can transform enemies into future subject. This is not weakness, it is confidence. News of Sahinsa's defeat reaches Bursa heavy are like heavy bell. People are relieved, but the relief is mixed with shock. Everyone knows this was not just another enemy, this was a rebellion from a closer circles. The defeat means safety, but it also means a wound in the larger Turkish world. Some people celebrate, others remain quiet out of respect of the blood lost. Orhan orders after the victory help guide the public mood. He does not allow it celebrate that insert the deadlines frame the victory at the restoration of order, the pressure, the player of destroying the rivals, not the player of destroying rival. This is not wise. In the palace, Narcissus feels that Orhan's burden is greater than she thought. He is not the fighting that emperor, he is also forced to beg. Men have been alive, they may have softened something inside her. Pain can make a person's narrow, can think, begin another's pain can hurt again. Sometimes it is weight of decisions. Who can want to carry this can solve all wounds. Carry this can changes the way see him. Asporka can understand the meaning of Sainsa's fall. It showed that Orhan is strong internal threat for the first mistake. Futures more secure, but it also even more important as Orhan rises. The political value of everyone closest to his rises too. Esporca must prepare that the next stage of Orhan rules and bring new license, new enemies and more suspicions toward anyone with Byzantine root. Her test is far from over. Fatima and Evron feel the victory in a more personal way. Evron has fought and remained loyal. Every action he takes now has washed away on all suspicions. Fatma sees him with a man asking to be believed, but a man building beliefs through sacrifice. The blood becomes stronger because it stands beside the stage struggles. Love is such a world cannot stay separate from loyalty. If Ibron proved loyal is to Orhan and futures to Fatma, then the futures become possible. Fatma allows herself to hope more openly, though she still knows happiness can be fragile. Himalaya world depends on Darshan's news. If he returns wounded, her beliefs will be mixed with fear. If Will does not return, the grief becomes one of the deepest wounds of the episode. Author's way the characters changes a wound who can wait it through. She cannot remain the same. She can become quieter, she may become stronger, she may carry sorrow like a hidden blade. Her love darsans, whether fulfilled or broken, becomes part of the inner power. The story should not hurt grief as a small side matters. It does it one of the emotional prize of the great victory. After dealing with Sahinsas, Orhan must turn again toward the Emperor. The Emperor has lost spot, but he is not finished. In some way, he becomes more dangerous because his options are fair. Our rulers with many choices may act carefully. Our rules with good choices may gamble. Orhan knows this except a desperate move. His friend Bursa watches the road and prepares for a final push. The Emperor may still have soldiers' pride and the old dreams of stopping the Ottomans. Orhan and the current threat before its rebuilt. The Emperor fears now become clear is the new decisions He tries to gather scattered strength, but he tries broader. He tries to speak like victory is still possible, but he squanders no that make Orhan fact like temporary problem, but the fact say otherwise. Bursa stand the ship are burnt, Science is defeated. Orhan name is growing. The emperor may still wear the crown of a old empire, but the ground near him is moving. History is turning its face toward a new power. Orhan's final move against the Empire is not only about winning the field, it is about sending message to all nearby rules. The message is simple. He Ottawa state is not a passing storm, is here to stay. These who join with justice with find space. These who attack with arrogance with lose with they expect. This message matters from futures diplomacy. Sometimes one strong victory prevent many futures, many wars, because rivals begins to think carefully, because attacking Orhan knows these actions now will shape now Orhan threat him later. The final preparations carrying a strong emotional tone. The soldiers understand they are standing at the edge of a new page. If they win, Bursa safely becomes stronger and Orhan authority higher, rising higher. If they fail, everything gained may be encouraged. The pupils pray, the palace walls, the commanders take their places. Orhan rides not as a young man chasing praise, but as a ruler defending a state. His face carries the memory of Osman, the wounds of the present and the vision of the futures. In this moment, the series reaches one of the clearest message. A state is not born in one victory, it is born through repeated tests. It is tested by enemies outside, by betrayal inside. The palace tensions by grief, by hunger, by law, by mercy, and by ambitions. Orhan is being tested in all these way to one that is the rise for fears, and he is not given greatness because of his name. He must prove it through choices that cost his peace. At Orhan looks toward the next battlefield. He understands that every victory will make the dream larger and that the burden heavier. This is a road of a founder heavier. This is the road of a founder's sons. Osman spanned the path, but Orhan must turn the path into a road wide enough for a state. He must build what can last. He must protect what has been won. He must heal when he has been wounded. He must punish without cruelty and forgive without weakness. He must love family while belonging to his family. He must remember the past while reaching to the future. The third section ends with Orhan standing at the point where audience can clearly see his transformation. He is not longer only the brave heir to Osman Bey, becoming Sultan Orhan in his own right. The Haber showed his treasures is the harbinger of the showing his own sense of order. The palace struggles shown his emotional burden. The conflict, the Sahinsas show his authority. The coming moves against the emperor show the impatience. All these parts come part of together. The form rulers who is still learning together, who is still learning, still hurting and moving forward the purpose. Bursa remains behind him like the must protect. The road ahead remains full of hard dangers. The palace wait for healing. Fatma Ibron's waiting for a future. Halimi wait for Ether's joy for grief. Nilufar and Sporka stand inside a house that must learn balance. Aladdin continues shaping the mind of the state. The old ops carry memory and the young ops carry hope. Above all them stand Orhan not as a man free fears but as a man who refuses or let fear decided the futures. The dream continue and now the dream has a strong rulers to carry it. The final storm, the imperial fear, and Orhan true rises as our rulers. The fourth part of the story belongs after Sainsa's power has been badly shaken at the enemy ship plan has already been burned at Karasai harbor, but this does not mean the road is open and peaceful for Sultan Orhan. In fact, this is the moment when dangers become shapers. A confident enemy can be studied, but a desperate enemy can becomes wild. The Emperor has lost part of his plan, and Sainsa's pride has been broken in the front of own men. Now both sides know that time is running against them. If the too long Orhan's strength will grow, if the attack too quickly, then from wall into another trap, the pressures make the few final storm feel close. Orhan understands that the enemy is no longer moving the trust control. This gives it an advantage, but it also gives him a warning. When leaders can calm their choices, follow up pattern. When leaders are humiliated, they may choose a path or look foolish but still cause heavy damage. The Emperor may now try now to last hard move to save his name. Sainsas may try to prove that he is not finished. Both men are wounded in pride, and wounded pride is very dangerous. It can push men to burn what they cannot own, the destroy what they cannot rule. Orhan must be therefore protect Bursa not only for attack but from revenge. Bursa it feels like a city waiting for thunders. The pupils do not need anyone to tell them something great is coming. They can feel it is movement of the soldiers if the faces of commanders and feels like silence of the places. The markets are open but the voices are lower. Children play but mothers calls them back sooner. Blacksmith work longer or hairs prepare cloth, oils and herbs. Every household begins to think of food, water, safety and prayer, and a city before battle is never fully normal. Even when daily life continues, fear stands quietly behind every door. Orhan does not fear allowed to spread without direction. He knows that fear can ethers can break people, make them carefully. He can trust fear into red lines. He gives the orders. He guidance must be watches. The road must be checked. Scout with report without delay. No rumor should be allowed to run safely, freely through the city. Supplies must be continuous. Soldiers must rest in tents. Not all ones or horses must be fed and kept ready. These details immense meals beside the image of great battles, but they are the world ruling state is protecting by careful preparations before it is protected by sword. The commanders around Orhan can see that is a different now. He is no longer moving like a one wants to prove himself. He is moving like a rulers who know that every mistake can cost hundreds of lives. His voice has become calm but stronger. He does not need to shout to be obeyed. Man listens because that can see that more than do. This is kind of authority that cannot be faked. Tries make place a man above others, but trust make men follow him into dangers. Orhan have begun to earn that trust with action, not only with bloodlines. Aladdin stand close to him at mind of orders while Orhan look at the army of the road. Aladdin thinks about what will happen after the battles if the emperor of defeated, what will be done with the prisoners. In some families, if Gursa has the enemy, what proof is needed before punishment? These are two simple questions. A sword can fight, but now must be confused. Aladdin understands that the state will not be repeated if victory turns into uncontrolled revenge. Orhan values the thinking because he knows his father his dreams cannot survive or bravery alone. Osman Bey opened the road and revenge, faith and courage, but Orhan must now widen the road with administration, justice and planning. He cannot rule only for saddle, he must rule for Scott from the market, from the councils and the battlefield. This is the next stage of the leadership. The founders break the wall, the builders decide which stand behind the wall. After it, Orhan is entering the builder test inside the palace. Nilufar watches all this with mixed emotions. She feels pride because Orhan is becoming the ruler everyone hoped the becoming hoped would be, but she also feels pain because the more he becomes the state rule, he less the belongs only his family. This is a hard trust of anyone close to power. The world sees the ruler as a symbol, but the family sees the tribe behind the symbols. Nilufar wants to remain close. She wants to believe that the crown he has taken him away from her. Yet every council's meeting, every war plan, and every political decision remind her that Orhan's life is no longer simple. As Porka understands him and other side, she has no palace life and political pressure in a different world. She knows that rules fully never fears. She sees now that every marriage, every word, every guest, every letters, and every silence can carry meaning. Because of this, she can understand Orhan's burden wants to. Nilufar does not always want to accept, but understanding does not make her position safe. If the Ottoman palace Esporca is still watching with suspicions by many, some sees useful, some sees her as dangerous, some sees her as a reminder of Byzantine where she must keep proving that she is more than her origins. The tense positions between as Nilufar and Sporka becomes quieter but now weaker. Loud argument can stop from time. Yet the wound may remain under the skin. Nilufar may speak with more control now, but her eyes are patient. But the pride is still believe. Both women know that Orhan cannot be pulled in two directions forever. If the palace becomes divided, the state will feel it so much decided whether she wants to win a personal fight or protect the large houses. This is one of the most important inner questions of the story. Fatma sees their tension and learns from her own. With Ibron has through her that love without trust become a prison. She understands that pride can destroy what the heart wants to protect. She can look at Nilufar. She sees a woman afraid of losing her palace. When she looks after Esporca, she was a woman trying not to crushed by suspicions. Fatma is not the ruler of the palace by birth, her becoming wiser. Pain has made her more careful and more compassionate. She begins to understand that every person inside the palace is carrying different kind of wound. Ibron also sensed that the world around Orhan is changing quickly. His own futures depend on loyalty. But loyalty is not just anymore. It must be shown in battles, in silence, in patience. And he knows some people may still remember the doubt around him. He knows not everyone will fully trust him at once, but he does not become angry. He accepts that a damaged name must be rebuilt step by step. This makes him stronger. A man who keeps surviving after being doubting shows a different kind of courage than a man who can fight with when praised. Helmi, meanwhile, still carries a darker pain. The battles planned and palace politicals move around her, but her moves remain true to Tarzan's. If Tarzan's have been wounded, missing, or lost, then every world even feels incomplete to her. People can speak of strategies, state, and futures, but grief at its own language. It does not care large the game, it cares about the one person who may not return. Helmi Payne reminds the audience that history is built by fear, who private lessons often disappears beside public success. The state rises, but not every heart rises with it. Orhan not forget such pain, even when he cannot stop because of it. This is what makes his burden so heavy. So he sees the cost in front of him. He knows the name of men have died. He sees women waiting. He hears children asking questions. He wanted old soldiers hides their tears, but he also knows that if stop he know many people suffers later. Leadership is such a time is not about choosing a fearless road. This is no painless road where sacrifice create a safer future. Orhan must believe that the pain to today will protect the children to tomorrow. The empire on the other side also stand beside the man, but his situation is different. He is trying to hide weakness behind all loyal pride. His enemies has all glory, but old glory does not stop from burning ship. Old glory does not bring back broken license. Old glory does not erase the fear that Orhan has planted its commanders. That emperors speak of honor and revenge because he must if he admit the dangers because angry soldiers he may courage, but inside he knows the trust. Orhan has changed the game. This is no longer a small order problem. This is the right of power that may keep growing. The imperial greatest fear is only losing one battle. His greatest fear is that others sees that him powers depend or emerge if rulers, cities, leaders, merchants, and military commanders begins to leave. That Byzantines can be pushed back into the weekends everywhere from the empire has protected many of its loyal breaks. Enemies will multiply. Orhan victory are dangerous because they do not take land, they change imagining. They make people imagine a future where the old empire no longer control their fate. Sainsa's fear is smaller than but more personal. He fears shame, he fears becoming example of futures, he fears that can control one listens to him will not speak his name with pity or anger. His fear streams is toward one last reckless move. He cannot escape to begin remembering at the man who stood against Orhan and lost. He wants to final act to make him heavy again, but his tries blind him. A man who fights to his pride often loses the ability to save the people. Sainsa's strategy is that the confusion his own reputations with the honor of everyone around him. Under Orhan, understanding that Sainsa's mistress tried to strike a hidden palace, that he does not excuse the rebellion is fully dead. He ordered his men to watch not only the main enemy force but also smaller roads, secret paths, and possible messenger. This is wise because many leaders thinking he is finishing Orhan has learned that is a broken snake can after success his discipline after victory becomes one of his greatest strengths. The final enemy plan belongs to from around desperation. The Emperor wants to push against Bursa's strength before Orhan becomes even assured. Scientists want to create confusion and perhaps force Orhan to decide his force. Perhaps for Orhan to decide his own. Their goals are not perfect, united, but not short. They still need each other. The Empire need local knowledge and damage that can internal rebellion can cause. Sahinsas need imperial strength make his challenge look larger than it really is. The license is weak in spirit but dangerous in actions. Legal license can still keep it ignored. Orhan brings his councils together and speaks plainly. He does not hide danger. He tells them that the enemy has not balance but not teeth. He explained that the next attack may not come in the from the expect. It may direct or it may be designed by created panic inside Bursa. It may tragic supplies families gentle or loyal commander. He orders even every man to think not only like a fighter but like a guardian. This is important. The Alps are not defending our leaders, they are defending our city, our people, or our futures capitals of hope. The Alps listening with respect because they hear Osman's spirit in Orhan world, but they also full of movement, trade, and survivals. Orhan time is becoming full of control settlement and state building. The mission is chasing the up must change. With it, they are not only warriors of the frontier now, they are protectors of growing order. This change may be difficult for some, but it necessary. A state cannot remain forever in the shape of war camp. It must become a home. Bursa peoples become part of the home that Orhan because it people trust him the final strongest that can stone if when peoples are him every height walls becomes weak so he the depend while that can one should be treated unjustly in the name of war. Sharp shops must not be robbed. Civilians must not be punished without proof. Food must not be taken without record. Soldiers must protect, not threatening. These orders are not small. They show the kind of rules Orhan wants to build. Victory must not turn that his own men into a new dangers for the peoples. The people begins to understand the difference. Some may still be afraid because the rules has changed and war is lost. But fairness is something people can fully quickly when a soldier pays for bread instead of taking it. People remember when a judge listens before punishing. People remember when a it is grief, jealousy, fear, and pride mixed together. She feels that something has been taken from her, and in such moment, even a strong heart can become sharp as Porca. On the other hand, is not work or silent. She comes from a world of palace, disciplines, Byzantine politicals, and hard choices. Her presence is around life changes the balance around Nilufer As Borka knows how to stand firm, she does not easily lower her head. This is why the tensions between Nilufar and Asporga is not just a fight between two women, it is a clash between two worlds. Nilufar represents old love, family roots, motherhood, and the emotional center of the Orhan household. Asporga represents diplomacy, new alliances, Byzantine influence, and a colder kind of political strength. Orhan Palace must hold both worlds, but holding them together is not simple. This palace storm is dangerous because private pain can become public damage. A ruler home is never only his home in a state that is still young. Every palace argument can become a political signal. Every word can travel. Every servant can hear something. Every rival can use that tension as a weapon. Orhan may win against the emperor in the field, but in his own place break from inside his enemies. He will smile. This is one of the strongest idea is the financial episode. A state is only built by sword, it is also built by control, trust, and the ability to stop by personals wound from beginning national's weakness. Then there is Helmi, whose story adds deep sadness for the final chapter. Helmi wants for wait for love, but instead it faces the fear of lose. Darsan fate becomes a heavy shadow over the heart. Her pain matters because it reminds the audience that big historical stories are not only about ruler and commanders. Behind every conquest, there are peoples waiting for someone to return. Behind every victory drum, there may be a woman who cannot smile because one name is missing. Helmi's story brings this human trust into the episode. War creates heroes, but it also creates empty places at the table. Darshan path is also meaningful because he stands between blood and joy. He comes from one side, but his heart pulls his toward another. In stories like Krulus or Han, loyalty is never simple. A may be born into one family, one tribe, on one political scam, but life may ask him to choose justice over blood. Darshan's love for Helemi and his actions around Orhan's side show that identity is not only about where a person starts, it is also about what he chooses when dangers come. If he ends is tragic, then his target becomes part of the moral cost of the story. Sahinsas is one of the most important enemies in the final stage because he is not an outside in the ordinary sense. He is not simple a Byzantine commander standing on the outside of the walls that comes from within the Turkish world that make his rebellion more painful. An outside enemy can be fought with clear anger, but a man who once stood close, who works the customs, who understands the weakness, and who still chooses betrayal becomes more dangerous. In Sa's fall shown what happens when pride becomes bigger than loyalty. He believes his way is right, but his belief becomes poison. His conflict with Orhan is also a conflict between the old and the new. Sahinsas is true to traditions in a regret way. He fears change, or perhaps he hates that change is happening without the permissions. Orhan represents a new state mind. He cannot rule only like a tribal chief, he must think like the leaders of a growing power. This difference creates friction. Some men around Orhan may represent respect, courage, but fear new system. They may love the old orders because they understand it. But Orhan knows the world is changing. If the Ottomans do not change with it, they may be crushed by larger power. This is why the title of leadership becomes so heavy for Orhan. He must respect the elders, but he cannot become their prisoners. He must honor Osman Bedream's but he cannot copy every step for the past. He must carry faith and traditions, but the must also build laws, plans, road alliances, and new military method. A state cannot survive on emotional alone. It needs order, it needs patience, it needs people who can read dangers before it arrives. Orhan's final test it is sure that he understands this trust. The preparations for the great battle is Bursa give the episode a strong sense of pressures. Everyone knows that something is big coming. Soldiers prepare their weapons, commanders speak in low voices, families watch the gates, the palace tries to stay calm but fears moves through every corridor. This feeling is important for the audience because it makes the coming hour feels earned. It is not just another action since it feels like the result of an many broken promises, many hidden plans, and many painful choices. The battle is not only about land, it is about who will control the futures. Orhan army also carries the weight of belief for the fighting beside Orhan is not only served to our rulers, it is served to our dream. They have seen Ottomans' base struggles, they know the cost of every campfire, every migration, every mistrial, and every prayer. When they stand for Orhan, they are also standing for the memory of those who died before. Pursa became a symbol of hope. This gives the story a spiritual tone. The soldiers are not shown as men chasing gold, they are men carrying a cause. Every whether viewers agree with every dramatic choice or not, this emotional foundation is what keeps the series powerful for its audience. In the final episode, Brest becomes more than a conquest place, it becomes a mirror. It shows what the Ottomans have gained, but also they have can lose. A city is not truly won when it gets soon opens gate. It won the afterward when peoples accept new rules, when justice feels and others stronger than fears, and when the rulers prove that conquest after challenge or harm victory is therefore even harder than the fight itself. He must show that he can grow once he must turn battlefield success into lasting ability. This is real means of state building. The leadership between Orhan and Aladdin is also an important part of the larger story. Even when the final war takes center stage, Aladdin represents knowledge, law, and a more thoughtful side of leadership. Orhan represents command, courage, and the ability to act when delay becomes dangerous. The strength of the state depends on both kinds of power. A sword without wisdom becomes wild. Wisdom without courage becomes weak. When brothers understand their different rules, the state becomes stronger. But if pride enters between them, enemies can use that crack. The series often play with this tension and it gives the Ottoman household more depth. Purity and the loyal Alps carry the emotional memory of the older story. For long time viewers, these characters are not only side figures, they are bridge between eras. Their presence remind us that Oran's stories did not start from nothing. It came from Ertugrul Road, Osman struggles and the sacrifice of many companions. That is why their loyalty has meaning. When the state beside Orhan, they silently approve the passing of the torch. They show that the old generation has not fully despaired. It has become the sport under the new generation feet. The final conflict also gives the audience a clear picture of Byzantine's fear. The emperor understands that Orhan is not just an other's border lord, he is becoming a real threat to the old order. Every Ottoman step toward new cities and ruled weakness Byzantines control. This is why the emperor moves feel Desperate, he wants to stop Orhan before the Ottoman rise becomes too strong, too reserved, but history-based drama works best when enemies are not only loud villains, they should be rulers who also understand survival's superior fight because he sees his own world shrinking that make the conflict sharper. At the same time, the series uses Ahinsas to show that not every danger comes from religious or imperial difference. Sometimes the greatest danger is ambition. Without wisdom, science does not need to be forgive to become destructive. His pride is enough, his anger is enough, his need to challenge Orhan become a fire that burns everything around him. In many ways, he becomes the warning of the story. A brave man without discipline can become a danger to his own people. A leader who cannot accept and others leaders rises many may destroy the very land he claimed to protect. Nilufar's emotional struggles deserve attention because it gives the palace story a human face. She is not only jealousy or angry. She is a woman who has carried love, motherhood, fear, and public responsibility. When Asporka enters the palace, Nilufar feels the ground shifting around her. She may understand politicals, but understanding does not remove pain. This makes her characters more real. In historical drama, women are often placed by as a symbol of oppression or sacrifice. But here, Nilufar anger shows that emotional wound can shape power. His choices can either protect the palace or shake it. Asporka's role is equally complex. She is not simply an outsider thrown into the story for conflict. She represents the difficult path of alliance when a rising power absorbs people for other world. It also absorbs their fears, habits, and political cultures. As Porca stands between Byzantine identity and Ottoman destiny, this makes the positions dangerous. Some never fully trust her or Han may uses the presence for their own game. She must survive with intelligence, not only because beauty of status. This gives her a sharp edge in the story. Fatma Ibrons bring a different kind of emotional energy. Their love story is not soft in the beginning, it is full of mistakes, secret, and dangerous timing, but that is the work of drama. Their relationship asks whether love can survive identity conflict. Can a person can be judged by the past he was given or by the trust he chooses later? Can Fatma trust her heart after so much pain? Can Ibron build a new name after old wounds? Their story gives the audience hope, but it is a hope and earned through suffering. Helmi and Darshan, however, carry the more tragic side of love. Their bond feels like something that may never fully breathe in peace. The world around them is too harsh. Family, tribe, war, and revenge all stand between them. Helmi Pain is the final chapter. Remind us that not every love story receives a beautiful ending. Some love stories become prayers, some becomes memories, some become the reasons our characters grow harder, wiser, or quieter. If Helmi does Darshan, then the future will not be the same. Her grief may become part of the strength. The final episode biggest strength is that gathers many kind of conflict into the one point. This is one outside Bursa. This is the fire harbor. There is a tension in the patience. There is love waiting for palace. There is love waiting for justice. There is grief waiting at the door. There is betrayal wearing the face of tradition. There is ruler learning that every victory brings as a bigger responsibility. The layered structures keep the story from becoming only a battle episode. It becomes a turning point or a new target at the end of important because it opens the next page of the Ottoman's dream. A rulers who stop after one victory may become comfortable. A ruler who sees every victory as a door to the next duty become builders of history. Orhan does not look at Bursa as the end, he looks beyond it. This is the key character. He is not fighting only to win today. He is fighting to create tomorrow. The final question is not simply will Orhan defeat his enemy. The bigger question is what kind of world will Orhan build after defeating them. This is why Krulus Aran at the best is not just about sword, horses, and palace argument, it is about transitions. The story moves from tribe to state, from dreams to structures, from fathers to son, from old wounds to the new ambitions. Osman they planted the seeds, Orhan must protected the tree while storm hit from every side. The emperor wants to cut it down. Sahensas wants to be behind it toward his own pride. Palace conflict threat to weakness his rod. But Orhan's duty is also keep the standing. As the final episode moves forward, the audience feels that Orhan had entered the hardest reserve of leadership. Earlier, he could still be seen as the son of great men. Now he must stand as the rulers of growing state. The name Osman will always be behind him, but the decisions are now his own. In his vein, his glory belongs to the state. It fails him. Blame will also fall on him. This is the long lines of leadership. Our rulers may be surrendered by Aap's family and advisors, but as the final moment, he must carry the decisions alone. The fire of Karasai harbor, the fear inside Bursa's, the palace storm, and the tears of those waiting for loved one all comes together to create one message. The Ottoman rise will not to be easy, it will not be clean, it will not be free from betrayal, grief, or sacrifice, but it will move forward because Orhan is learning how to turn power, pain into power. He is learning that Mercury and force must work together. He is learning that a state needs both heart and mind, and most importantly, he is learning that the dream of Osman Bey can only live it. Orhan becomes more than a brave son, he must become a ruler who can see beyond the smoke. This section of the story ends with a feeling of involvement. Moment where even when enemies fall, all road does not end. Even when the palace celebrate another storm wait, even who loves find hope and grief stand nearby. Orhan's eyes are now fixed on large possible goals, and the means final battle is not truly the end, it is the gate to a new era. The question for the viewer is no longer whether Orhan can fight, we already know he can. The real question is whether he can build, protect, and expand without losing the soul of the cause. That is the true of test of Sultan Orhan. Sultan Orhan final the test at the fire before a new era. Krulus Orhan has reached a very important point in the story. This is not only the story of one battle, one palace, or one enemy. This is the story of young rulers who must prove that he is not living only under the shadow of Osman Bey. Sultan Orhan has already inherited a heavy name, a powerful dream, and a state that is still growing, but inheritance is never enough. A throne can be given, but leadership must be earned again and again. And in the latest final episode, this trust stand in front of mistake. The series brings Orhan to a moment where he must fight with his the mind before he fights with his sword. At the heart of the final stage, Orhan faces a very serious trap. The Imperial and Sensas does not come at him like simple enemies. They try to surround him from two sides and break him before they can fully move. Their plan is not only to defeat his army, this deeper plan is to shake his confidence, divide his people, and prove that the Ottoman rise can still be stopped. This is why the final conflict feels bigger than an ordinary battlefield. It is a test of statecraft, it is a test of patience, it is a test of visions. Orhan understands that if reached with anger alone, he may lose more than soldiers, he may lose the futures that his fathers dream about. This is where Orhan becomes more dangerous than his enemies expect. He does not trust blindly, he studies the movement of the enemy. He learns that a large force has left Constantinople, and instead of waiting to be crushed between armies, he builds his own game. This makes Orhan different from many worries around him. Some men only know how to attack, some men only how to defend, but a ruler must know when to stay silent, when to move, when to burn the grip behind the enemy, and when to make the enemy believe he is safe. Orhan plans around Karasai harbor show that is no longer just a brave son of Osman, he is becoming the mind state. The idea of burning the enemy ship before they can fully serve the enemy's power because it changes the balance of the war. Ships are not only wood and sails in war, shipmen supply escape pressure and fear. If the enemy can use the sea freely, then can land. Victory may still remain incomplete, but it Orhan can strike the ships before the sails into action. Then he cuts off enemy struggles, and this kind of strategy shown that the Ottoman struggle is now moving beyond tribal war. It is turning a larger world. Cities, ports, roads, castles, license, and sea routes are all becoming part of the same fight. But the strength of the episode is not only is war planning, the emotional side also increases. The heavyweight Bursa is not shown. It becomes a place of return, spare, hope, and memory. When Fatma and those with the comes back safety and the palace breathe again, this returns matter because the palace has been carrying many wounds. Every person inside he lost something. Every victory has become a prize. Fatma returns bring relief, but it does not erase the past. It only gives the characters a small moment to believe that it can still continue after betrayal, fire, and fears. Fatma and Ibron stand in the middle of the most emotional lines of the story. Their bond has passed through doubt, anger, hidden trust, and dangers. Ibron has been a simple character. His past, his identity, and his judgment around him have created conflict. When his innocence becomes clear, the story gives him a Fatma chance to better breathe again, but the chance to not feel easy. The love is not painted like a calm dream, it feels like something pulled out or flame. This is why their reunions carries a different kind of feeling. It is not only romantic, it is a sign of trust can survive even when lies are louder for a long time. Still, the palace does not stay peaceful for long. The tensions between Nilüfer and Sporka becomes another storm inside the walls. This conflict is important because it shows that the state is not only threatening from outside. Sometimes the hardest battles happen inside the home between people who all stand close to power. Nilüfer pain after hearing about Daphne becomes anger, and that anger turns again toward Sporka for Nilüfer. This is not only a political matter, it is personal, it is grief, jealousy, fear, and pride mixed together. She feels that something has been taken from her, and in such moment, even a strong heart can become a sharp. Asporka, on the hand, is not weak or silenced. She comes from a world of palace discipline, Byzantines, politicals, and the hard choices he represents in Orhan. Life change the balance around Nilüfer, and Asporka is not fight between two women. It is a clash between two worlds. Nilüfer represent old love, family, and roots, motherhood, and the emotional center of the Orhan household. Asporka represent diplomacy, new alliances, Byzantine influence, and a colder kind of political strength. Orhan place must hold both worlds, but holding them together is not simple. This palace storm is dangerous because private pain can become public damage. A ruler home is never only in home in a state that is still young. Every palace argument can become a political signal. Every word can travel. Every servant can hear something. Every rivals can use that tension as a weapon. Orhan may win against the emperor in the field, but if his own palace breaks from inside, his enemy will still smile. This is one of the strongest idea in the final episode. A state is not only built by sword, it is also built by control, trust, and the ability to stop personal wounds from becoming national weakness. Then there is Helmi does not add deep sadness to the final chapter. Helmi waits for love, but instead she faces the fear of loss. Darsan's fate becomes a heavy shadow over her heart. Her pain matters because it reminds the audience that big historical stories are not only about rules and commanders. Behind every conquest, there are people waiting for someone to return. Behind every victory drums there may be a woman who cannot smile because one name is missing. Helene's story brings this human trust into the episode. War creates hero, but it also creates empty places at the table. Darshan's part is also meaningful because he stands between blood and joy. He comes from one side, but his heart pulls his toward another. In stories like Rulus or Har, loyalty is never simple. A man may be born into one family, one tribe, or one political scam, but life may ask to choose justice over blood. Darshan's look from love from Helemi and these actions around Orhan side show that identity is not only where a person starts, it is also about what he chooses. When dangers come it and tragic, this can tragedy becomes part of the moral cost of the story. Science is one of the most important enemies in the final stage because he is an old outsider in the ordinary sense. He is not simply by a Byzantine commander standing on the other side of the wall. He comes from within the Turkish world that make the rebellions more painful. An outside enemy can be fought with fierce anger, but a man who once stood close, who knows the customs, who understands the weakness, and who still chooses betrayal becomes more dangerous. In Sa's falls shows that what happens when pride becomes bigger Then loyalty, he believes he is away, right, but his belief becomes poison. His of conflict with Orhan is also a conflict between the old and the new. Sahinsas is tried to tradition in a regret way. His fears change, or perhaps the head changes is happening about his permissions. Orhan represents a state mind. He cannot retreat rules only a tribe chief. He must think like the leaders of a growing power. This difference creates frictions from and around may respect courage but fear may system. They may love the old elders because they understand it, but Orhan knows the world is changing. If the advanced do not changing with it, they will be crushed by larger power. This is why the title's leadership becomes so heavy. Or Orhan, he must respect the elders, but he cannot become the prisoners. He must honor Osman their dream, but he cannot copy every step of the past. He must carry faith and tradition, but the must also build law, plan, road license, and new military method. A state cannot survive on emotional alone. It needs order, it needs patience, it needs people who can read dangers before it arrives. Orhan final test it is sure that the understand this trust. The preparations of the great battle in Bursa give the episode a strong sense of pressure. Every knows that something big is coming. Soldiers prepare their weapons. Commanders speak in low voices. Families watch the gates. The palace try to stay calm, but fears move through every corridor. This feeling is important for the audience because it makes the coming war feels earned. It is not just an other's action scene, it feels like the result of many broken promises, he hidden plan, and many painful choices. The battle is not only about land, this it is about who will control the futures. Orhan army also carries the weight of belief for the ops fighting beside Orhan. It is not only survive to a rulers, it is survive to a dream. They have seen Osman-based struggles. They know the cost of every campfire, every migration, every betrayal, and every prayers. When they stand for Orhan, they are also standing for the money for those died before Bursa became a symbol of hope. This gives the story and spiritual tone. The soldiers are not shown as men chasing gold. They are men carrying a cause. Whether viewers agree with every dramatic choice or not, this emotional foundation is what keeps the series powerful for its audience. In the final episode, Bursa becomes more than a conquered place. It becomes a mirror. It shows what the Ottomans have gained, but also when they can lose. A city is not truly won when it gets open. It is won when orders comes after war. When people accept new rule, when justice feels stronger than fear, and when the rules prove that conquest is not only destruction, only challenge Orhan. Victory is therefore even harder than the fight itself. He must show that he can govern. He must turn battlefield success into lasting stability. It is the real meaning of the state building. The leadership between Orhan and Aladdin is also an important part of the larger story. Even when the final wars take center stage, Aladdin represents knowledge, law, and a more truthful side of leadership. Orhan represents command, courage, and the ability to act when delay becomes dangerous. The strength of the state depends on both kinds of power. A sword without wisdom becomes white. Wisdom without courage becomes weak. When brothers understand the difference, rose the state becomes stronger if the pride centers between them. Enemies can use that crack. The series often plans with this tension and it gives Ottoman's household more depth. Security and the loyals up carry the emotional empathy of the old story for long time viewers. These characters are not only side figures, they are bridge between eras. Their presence reminds us that Orhan's story is not only from start nothing, it comes from Ertugrul road, Ottoman struggles, and the sacrifice for many companions. This is why their loyalty war has meaning. When they stand passing for torch, they show that the old generation has not fully disappeared. It becomes the spot under the new generation feet. The final conflict also gives the audience a clear picture of Byzantine fear. The emperor understands that Orhan is not only an other border's lord, he is becoming a real threat to the old orders. Every Ottoman step toward new cities and roots weakness Byzantine's control. This is why the emperor moves feel desperate. He wants to stop Orhan before the Ottoman rise becomes too strong to reserve. But history-based drama work. But when enemies, we are not only loud villains; they should be rulers who also understand survival. The emperor fight because he sees his own world shrinking. That make the conflict sharper. At the same time, the series uses science to show that not every dangers come from religious or imperial difference. Sometimes the greatest dangers in ambitions without wisdom. Science does not need to forgive the become destructive. His pride is enough. Every destructive his pride challenge becomes a fire that burns everything around him. In many ways, he becomes the war of the story. A brave man without discipline can become dangerous to his own pupils. A leader who cannot accept and others leaders rise many destroy the very land he had claimed to protect. Nilufer emotional struggles deserve attention because it gives the palace story a human face. She is not only jealous or angry, she is a woman who has carried love, motherhood, fear, and public responsibility. When Asporka enters the balance, Nilufars feel the ground shifting under her. She may understand politics, but understanding does not remove pain. This makes her characters more real. In historical drama, when are often placed only as symbols of patience or sacrifice, but here Nilufar angers show that emotional wounds can shape power. He choices can either protect the palace or shake it. As Porka's role is equally complex, she is not only a simple outsider thrown into the story for conflict. She represents the conflict difficult path of license when arising. Power absorbs people from another world. It also absorbs their fears, habits, and political culture. As Porka stand between Byzantine identity and Ottoman destiny. This makes her positions dangerous. Some will never fully trust her, or Han may use her presence from their own game. She must survive with intelligence. Not only beauty or status gives her sharp edge in the story. Fatima and Viron's bring a different kind of emotional energy. Their love story is not soft to the beginning. It is full mistakes, secret and dangerous timing, but that is why it works. Drama, their relationship asks whether can love survive identity conflict. Can a person be judged by the past he was given or by the trust he chooses later. Can Fatima trust her hair after so much pain? Can Evrons build a new name after old wound? Their story gives the audience hope, but it is a hope and through suffering. Helmi and Darsan, however, carry the more tragic side of love. Their bonds feels like something that may never fully breathe in peace. The world around him is too harsh. Family, tribe, war, and revenge all stand between them. Helmi pain in the final chapter remind us that not fully remains love story because receive a beautiful ending. Some love stories become prayers and some become memories. Some become the reason as our characters grow harder, wiser, or are quieter. If Helmi loses Darsan, then the futures will be not same. He grief may becomes part of the strength. The final episode biggest strength is that gathers may kind of the kind conflict into one point. This is war outsiders war. This is fire at the harbor. There is tension in the palace. There is love waiting for justice. There is grief waiting at the door. There is betrayal wearing the face of traditions. There is a ruler's learning that every victory brings a bigger responsibility. These layered structures keep the story from becoming only a battles episode. It becomes a turning point. Orhan new target at the end is important because it opens the next page to the next. Orhan Osman dream a rulers who stop after the victory may become comfortable. A rulers who sees every victory as a door to the next duty becomes a builders of history. Orhan does not look at Bursa at the end. He looked beyond it. This is the key to his characters. He is not fighting only to win. Today he is fighting to create tomorrow. The final question is not simply will Orhan defeat his enemy. The bigger question is what kind of world will Orhan build after defeated them. This is why Krulus Orhan at is the best is not just about sword, horses and palace argument. It is about transitions. The story moves tribe to state, from dream to structures, from fathers to son, from old bound to new ambitions. Osman Bey planted the sea. Orhan must protect the trees while storm hit from every side. The Emperor wants to cut it down. Saints want to bend it toward his own pride. Palace conflict threat to make weaken its root. But Orhan's duty is to keep it standing. As the final episode moves forward, the audience feels that Orhan has entered the hardest regions of leadership. Earlier, he could will be as soon the son of a great man. State the names Osman always be behind him, but the decisions are now his own. If he wins, the glory belongs to be able. It fails, he blames will also fall on him. This is the long lines of leadership. A ruler may be surrounded by apps, family, and advisors, but the final moment he must carry the decisions alone. The fire of Karasai harbors the fear inside Bursas, the palace storm, and the tears of those waiting for love. All once all come together create to be easy. It is not a be clean, it is to be free from betrayals, grief, and sacrifice. But it will move forward because Orhan learning how to turn pain into powers. This is learning that Mercury and Force must walk together. He is learning through that a state needs both hair and mind. And most importantly, he is learning that the dream of Osman Bey he can live if Orhan becomes more than a brave son. He must become a ruler who can see beyond the smoke. The sections of the story ends with a feelings of the moment. Even when enemies falls and the road does not end, even when the palace celebrates and other storm bears, even when love finds hope, grief stand nearby. Orhan eyes are now fixed on large goals, and that means the final battle is not truly the end, it is the gate to a new era. The questions for the viewer is no longer whether Orhan can fight, we already know how he can. The real question is whether he can build, protect, and expand without losing the soul. Of course, that is the true test of Orhan. The price of victory, the weight of the palace, and the next dream of Orhan after the fire at Krasai is harbor and the heavy strike against the enemy plane. Bursa does not become calm at once. A city can have victory become it can feel peace. The peoples whose dead Sultan Orhan that has broken an important part of the enemy's strength, but they also knows that a wounded enemy can be more dangerous than a confidence one. The state carry Wu feeling at the same time. This there is relief because the ship has burned and the imperial path has become weaker, but there is also fears because every understand that the imperial and the Hinsas will not accept this defeat quietly. Bursa bleeds, but it does not sleep deeply. Every sound at night still fight feels like a warning. Every rider coming toward the gate may carry good news or a new danger. Orhan stand at the center of this storm with a face that shows neither pride nor panic. This is what makes him different in this moment. A smaller leader might celebrate loudly and allow these peoples to believe that the fire is finished, and other leaders might hide in fears because the enemy will still has power. Orhan does not others he give hope, but he does not sell false safety. He knows that victory is useful only is protect. A burnt ship is not strong sign, but it is not the end of the story. Emperor, a broken plan is important, but it does not erase the Hind's ambitions. So Orhan begins the next enemy stage, but now the must take make sure the enemy cannot translate into a bigger attack. The first task before Orhan is ordered. War can create glory, but it also creates confusion. Soldiers return with dust on their clothes and blood on their hands. Some are wounded, some have lost close friends, some are full of pride and wants to catch the enemy without rest. Others are tired and need food, water, and sleep. A ruler must hold all these different needs together. He cannot allow the brave to become careless. He cannot allow the tries to feel forgotten. He feels allow rumors to become stronger than command. This is why Orhan speaks less like a young warrior now and more like a man building a state. He gives order about guard supplies, prisoners, injured soldiers, and the safety of the road. He knows that after a great actions, discipline must become even stronger in the palace. The mood is more complicated. The people inside hear about here Orhan's success, but his heart are not on the same place. Some feel proud, some feel afraid, some feel pushed aside, some feel that the pride has pain no place beside the large victory outside. This is the hidden trust of every palace. From far away it looks rich, powerful, and protected, but inside it can be full of lonely people. The wall may be strong, yet he hurts inside them can still break. Orhan may be winning outside the inside his own house. He must deal with another kind of fire. It burns without smoke or damage. Trust, love, and peace. Nilüfer feels his fire deeply. She knows that Orhan is carrying the state on his shoulders, but she also carries her own wound. Her pain is not only about Asporka, it is about the feeling that the world around Orhan is changing so fast that her own palace is becoming uncontained. Once she may have believed that love and loyalty were enough to secure her positions, but now Orhan is not only a man, he is Sultan Orhan. Every relationship around him has meaning beyond the heart. Every marriage can become an alliance. Every child can become a future's political question. Every woman close to him can be seen as a symbol of influence. Nilufer understands this, and because she understands it, her fear becomes stronger. She does not want to appear weak, so she covers her fears with anger. This is very human. Many people do this when they are hurt. Instead of saying, I am afraid you will forget me, they say sharp words. Instead of saying, I feel alone, they accuse others. Nilufer angers toward Asporka is not simple jealousy. It is the voice of woman who has given much as now feels that her sacrifices are being placed beside new political needs. She sees Asporka not only as an other's woman but as a sign that Orhan life is moving into a world where Nilufer may not control the room that through her pride and her hurts. As Porca can lives under pressure, she enters the Ottoman palace with a name, a background, and a history that make people watch her carefully. Some admire her, some doubt her, some are polite her face, but cold in their hearts. Some knows that one mistake can be used against her. It may speak, stay silent. People may call her weak if she speaks strongly. They may call her dangerous if she stays near Orhan. People may say is using power in she stays away. They may say she is hiding something. This is the trap around her. She must alive like a person walking on this ice, where every step can crack the surface. The conflict between Nilufer and Nasporka is not only a kind of power. Nilufer powers come from love, memory, motherhood, and her long place in Orhan life. As Porka powers come from political value, sharp understanding, and her connections to a larger world beyond the tribe. Nilufer represents root. As Porka represent a bridge. A state needs both roots and bridge. Without root, it loses its soul. Without bridge, it cannot grow. But bringing both under one roof is painful because each side fears that the Orhan will take too much space. Orhan must understand this before the conflict becomes too deep. Orhan does not need the luxury of ignoring the palace. Some rulers think the home is separate from the state, but this is not true. It is a strong destiny. The palace is the heart of public trust. If the palace look divided, enemies outside gain courage. If the women of the palace stand against each other, servant talk, rumors move, and arrive begins to guesses. When they strike, Orhan knows that a whisper can travel faster than a horse. He knows that Sahinsas does not need to enter Bursa with an enemy if can centers throw doubt. This is why Orhan must repair the palace without appearing weak and without humiliating either side. But repairing hurt is harder than repairing walls. A broken can be get fixed and wood and iron. A broken heart needs trust, time, and respect. Orhan cannot simply order or Nilufer to forget her pain. He cannot simply command a Sporker to accept every insult. He must give each woman a palace where dignity remains. This is difficult because the state asks Orhan to be partial while the heart asks him to be gentle. If he is too political, he wounds those who loves him. If he is too emotional, he may weaken the balance of power. This is one of the hardest part of these rules. He must be husband, fathers, leaders, commanders, and judge at the same time. While the palace struggles with inner tensions, Fatima and Ifron's move through a softer but still painful path. Their leadership relationship has passed through fierce suspicions and fear. Now that Ifron's innocence has become clear, the air between them begins to change, but trust does not return like a door opening quickly. It returns like morning light, slowly and quietly. Fatma wants to believe him fully, yet the memory of danger stays with her. Ibron wants to stand before her with a clean name, yet he knows that people will always look at him through all doubt. This creates a love that feels more mature than before. It is not sweet, it is careful, wounded, and serious. Ibron understands that honor is not proven once, it must be protected every day. He does not demand that everyone forget the past. Instead, he chooses passion. He knows loyalty through action. He stays steady. He does not speak too much to defend himself because he knows that time will speak louder. This makes him stronger as a character. A man who has been fallacy doubted can become bitter. He can turn hard and angry. But if Ron does not allow bitterness to rule him, he uses pain as a test. He becomes quieter, deeper, and more determined to end his futures. Fatma sees his change. He sees that Ibron is not trying to win her, but with big promises, he is trying to stand with a trust for Fatma. His matter. She has learned that world can be beautiful, can still hide danger. She has seen how quickly life can change. So now she does not only listens to what a person says, she watches what that does not. One is praising him. If Ron's strength is that silence, he does not need to shout that he is loyal. He proves it staying when the past is hard. This slowly gives Fatma the courage to open her again. Their love also gives the audience a break from the heavy politicals of the story, but if uses useless break, it shows what kind of society Orhan is trying to build. A state is not only a made for rulers and army, it also made so people can love, marry, raise families, and live with dignity. In the world remain only words, then every victory becomes empty. Fatma and Hebron remind us that the purpose of power should be life. Orhan fights so that people like them can one day live without fears. Their personal hope becomes part of the larger stream. Helemi's story, however, keeps the sadness alive. Her heart is tied to Darsan, and Darsan's fate hungers over her like a dark cold, while others speak of strategy, victory, and future target.